to start, I'm more than happy for you to begin, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Wa alaikum salam.
Okay, you may begin, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the nice introduction. It's comprehensive, though it was very short. Thank you for that. And do you all want me to speak in Tamil, English, or?
I'd like you to speak in English, please. I think a majority of our participants will be English speakers, inshallah.
Right, that's right. I can see nearly 28 participants, including the host anyway. So nice meeting all of you. Assalamu alaikum. Can everybody hear me?
So guys, I'd like to in the chat.
Any Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yeah, we can hear you. Very clear.
Okay. Right. Yeah, okay. Thanks everyone participating in this. It's really an honor to have a chance to speak to everyone. I was planning to speak on some subject. I had a short notice and I decided to just speak about something that I know of, which is about the human body. You might wonder why we should speak about this. I will give everyone a chance to ask questions, and I would like to keep this as a discussion rather than a lecture. So I don't want to do a lecture for 1.5 hours, and I don't want to keep talking, but I would like to give a chance for everyone to ask questions so that we can make this as a discussion. And as this is my first kind of involvement in this kind of program with SLIF Youth, probably I might have spoken to a lot of people before personally, but kind of meeting like this, I would like to keep it as very casual and discussion based and not like a formal lecture. So feel free to ask questions, feel free to discuss anything. All right, now, first thing first, honestly, you know the topic. Now within this short notice, I could think of a topic which I thought would be interesting, useful, and also related to what our belief is. Okay, so the topic I chose was this Allah's miracles of human body and mind. That can be shortened to say miracles of human body, which is something that I'm very interested in. So we might wonder why we should know this. I would like to know if there is anyone with a medical or biology background here. Anyone with medical background or anyone with biology background? I guess no. It doesn't matter. It's okay. First of all, you don't need to have any medical background, any biological background, or any other knowledge about human body to understand what we are discussing today. Okay. The main objective of our discussion today, from my opinion, is that by understanding how complex human body is created, we will know how this was kind of how this is a creation of God, Allah. So we will know how complex and meticulous and systematic Allah's creation is, so that I think every one of us will have a chance to think of Allah's uh, Allah's abilities, His magnificence, and His kindness, and His every sort of power that Allah has on Him. So we will understand. We will try to kind of think of that, and we will be amazed and excited at the power of Allah by looking at the complexity and harmony of human body if we only understand a little bit. So my thinking is that by discussing this complexity of human being, we will have a chance to learn, understand Allah's magnificence, Allah's power, which will really eventually increase our iman, which will be good for us. So that is basically what it is. Does it make sense? Honestly, I don't hear anyone talking or anyone sending a message or anything, so I'm not sure. I don't get any feedback, so I'll have to only assume that people hear me. And I'm not sure if people can either type messages or speak back to get a feedback as to if everyone is understanding. Okay, thanks. Right, that is great. Now, we coming back to this. The other disclaimer about this discussion is, when we people living in Western countries know what this means is exactly. I'm only a medical profession. I'm not an Islamic scholar. I want to insist on that. I'm not an Islamic scholar. I do not claim to be an expert in Islamic matters or Quran and Hadith interpretations. And my knowledge in Islam is very limited. And so if I quote any verses from Quran or Hadith, please by all means try to verify them yourself. Of course, I have verified them by myself. Still, there are chances that I may be wrong. I may make mistakes. I don't want to make any mistakes with regard to Islamic matters, Quran or Hadith or anything, which I don't have a deep knowledge in. That is not my expertise. As I said, I'm not an Islamic scholar. But of course, by all means, ask anything about medicine, human body, human mind. Of course, I can give you authentic information that I'm responsible for. So I think this particular point is very clear to everybody. So now, by doing this, now we will try to understand, some of the miracles of human body, and we will try to understand what happens if there is a tiny mistake in the creation of human body. We'll just discuss that, and we'll see how it all goes. Okay. Now, there is a Quranic verse which is in verse 41 and verse 53 of Surah 41. That is 41:53. I gathered this translation from Quran.com. That says, we will show them our signs in the universe and within their own being, until it will become manifest to them that it is the truth. Is it not enough about your Lord that He is witness to everything? Right. In this verse, it says that you can see signs of Allah within our being, within ourselves. Okay. My understanding is that, we can see Allah's signs everywhere around us and within us. So we are trying to see if we can understand some of these signs of Allah in our body by studying the body, human body. Okay, and there is also another verse in the Quran that is 95:4. That is Surah 95 verse 4. It says, surely we created man in the best mold. So actually it says best mold. The more you understand the human body, the structure and function of the body, you will understand the meaning of this verse even more and more, better and better. So I thought these two Quranic verses are relevant to what we are talking today. So that is why I gathered these two. I found these two sentences, two verses, and I brought them here. Of course, by all means, please speak to Islamic scholars to find out the real meaning of all these sentences. This is what I understood, so I may have made mistakes. Okay? Right. Now, before we start talking about this, actually, now, as I said, now we are not going to talk too much. I'm not going to talk too much, but I would want the participants to speak about something, ask questions and everything. Right. Anyone has any feedback about what I have said so far? Or otherwise, are you interested in starting a topic related to this, starting from anywhere? Or do you have a special question before we start? Do you want to discuss anything specific?
Guys, so it would be very useful for you to give some suggestions to the doctor so we can make this session tailored to you, so it's not boring or not interesting. So, and if you don't have any suggestions, then just pop it in the chat that you just, you just like to listen to what's going to happen, inshallah.
Right. Is everyone able to write something on the chat box? It means is it enabled, by the way?
Yeah, yeah. Everyone should be able to,
type.
Yeah, to type and to
Yes.
speak as well. If they wanted to unmute themselves, they should be able to.
All right. Okay. I can see Dr. Rifai Maulavi popping up. Can you hear me, Rifai Maulavi? So your mic is muted. Right. By the way, can I ask everyone, do you like to kind of discuss any specific topic, or do you like to ask anything before I start talking something?
By the looks of it, Doctor, I think everyone's happy for you to...
Everyone is happy for me to carry on.
Yeah, yeah, inshallah.
Right, okay. Now, generally, as I said, we will keep this very casual. Okay, so now, when it comes to human body, right? And now, in the topic I have said, this is the miracles of human body and human mind that we will be discussing. So we will leave the mind part for the time being, and we will concentrate on the human body. When it comes to human body, okay, my personal experience is that, you see, when you study the human body, the deeper you understand, you will wonder, right, how powerful and meticulous Allah is, how powerful Allah is, and how meticulous His creations are. If somebody wants to really increase somebody's iman, it is, in my opinion, it is a very good way to do so by studying how complex and how beautiful human body is, the structure and the function of the human body. That is amazing, in my opinion. Now, when I studied medicine, of course, we studied the facts about human body, diseases and treatment, this and that, everything. But every time I was learning something, I was amazed at how miraculous it was that something was existing in the body, something was functioning in the body. So every single tiny thing in the body is a miracle. There's no exception, if I want to say. There's absolutely no exception. Human body has been created so perfectly. Perfect means it is a real perfection. So this is what I found. This is why you should learn this so that your iman will increase. It is very important. So, just to interest you, I would talk a little bit about, cells in the human body. You know how the human body is composed of small, small cells. Right. You have heard of cells. Cells are the building blocks of human body. Cells are so tiny, you cannot see them with your naked eye. With your naked eye, you cannot see a single cell because they are so small. Okay? Anyone knows how many cells may be there in a human body, roughly? Probably no idea. Of course, you can read these things in the public domain. This information is available anyway. So it is said that there are more than 37 trillion cells in the body. There are certain other estimations which say there are 70 trillion cells in the human body. And also there are certain other scientists who say that there are 100 trillion cells in the body. Right? Somebody wrote it as 30 trillion, 70 trillion. Yes, yeah, that is the truth anyway. You know what a trillion means? How many zeros are there in 1 trillion? Can somebody please write? I'm sure that there must be statisticians and mathematicians available. So please write something. So what is a trillion? Yes, 12 zeros, right? 1 million means there are 6 zeros after number 1. 1 billion means there are 9 zeros behind 1. And 1 trillion means there are 12 zeros. And in human body, there is not just 1 trillion cells, but there are minimum of 37.2, they say 37 trillion cells in the body. Can somebody imagine how this is possible? How amazing this is? How can somebody create something like this? How many billions of human beings are there in the world, and how many billions have died already? And every single human being had or has this number of cells in their body. Is it not amazing on the first hand to start with? So how do we look at one of these cells? If there are 37 or 70 or 100 trillion cells in the body, so for you to see one of them, you need a huge, powerful microscope. You can only see them properly in a good microscope or an electron microscope. Thousands of times magnification is required to do this. Okay? Now, if there are so many cells in the body, Allah has created so many, we will find out how they all work together in harmony in our body, really to kind of, we don't even feel how nicely we live. We eat, drink, we walk, sleep, we get up, right? We are well, sometimes we are sick, right? These things are all operated in harmony with each other when it comes to the cells. So it means all these 100 trillion cells work in harmony with each other. Is it not amazing? In my opinion, it is really amazing. It is amazing because you would, when you come to know what happens inside each of these cells, you will be even more amazed. Okay? Right. Now, can you just guess? Anyone can guess the size of a small cell in the body? How small the size would be if there are, say, 70 trillion cells in a human body? Who is a human? who is weighing 70 kilograms with a height of nearly 170 or 75 centimeters. So can somebody guess what the size of a single cell would be? Yes, exactly. I'm sure that there must be a good biologist or somebody there, right? 20 microns, that is very good. Say, it's to fail. Right, it is 20 micrometer. That is true. Of course, now we know the cells can vary in sizes depending on what cell we are talking about. Therefore, the size also can vary from 20 micrometers to 120 micrometers. Okay, so what is a micrometer then? Any idea? So there are three measurements now. How many micrometers are there in 1 meter? Right, okay, that is fine. It is, somebody has written 100 times smaller than a millimeter. I thought that it is 1,000 times smaller than a millimeter. Okay, 1,000 times smaller than a millimeter. So 1 meter means 10 to the power of minus 6. Yes, that is correct, somebody said. So that is micrometer. And also we'll talk about the other thing. What is a nanometer? You have heard of it. That is 1,000th of a, yeah, exactly, 10 to the power of minus 9 meter. So in other words, that is 1,000th of a micrometer. Okay. So now can you imagine the size of a cell? It says when you say that is 20 micrometer, or let's assume 20 to 120, anything. So one of the smallest cell would be around 20 micrometers. That is right. Can somebody imagine how small this is? So Allah has created, right, this tiny substance, the cell, which is not visible to the naked eye of a person, which can carry out functions which no one can imagine that such a small cell can do. Functions that factories cannot do will be done in the tiny cell of this 20 micrometer. We will just go into some of them actually to see what it is, right? Okay, now I would like to show, now we are talking about these small cells. Now I came across a small video from YouTube. I thought that gives a little kind of, information about the structure of the cell. So when you understand, when you see the structure of the cell, we can talk further about what happens inside. Shall we have a look at that? I'll see if I can switch that on. I can put that on. Right, I got that video. I'm just going to share that with you. Give me 1 second, please. Cells are the smallest. Yeah, please tell me if anyone cannot see this video. I'm just going to share this, okay? Can everyone see this and hear the video?
can see the video, but I'm not sure if it's just me, but I can't hear the video. Okay, it seems that a
Right.
lot of people can't hear the video. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Let me see if I need to do
I
anything.
think you should select the system audio while you share it, so that we'll be able to hear the system audio as well.
Let me see real talk, same as system. Can you all hear this now? Could you hear that now?
No, still not clear at all.
Right. 1 second. Maybe there is some setting that I have done wrongly. Switch to phone audio. Units of organs. Right now, can you hear me talking, by the way?
Yeah, we can hear you talking fine.
Right, okay. So what I would do is now, please have a look at this. Now I'll try to pause in between and I'll show you what it means and certain things, just for you to get an idea as to what a human cell looks like. Okay. So we are talking about a 20 micron diameter cell. Separates the inside of the cell from its environment. Cytoplasm, which is a jelly-like fluid, and which is the cell. Second category is prokaryotic cells. Nucleus or membrane enclosure. As chromosomes. Cell is going to do. Nucleus. All cells have a cell membrane which separates the inside of the cell from its environment. Right. Did everyone see that?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Now, this is basically I wanted to show everyone. You can see this huge ball-like structure. So this is a cell. This is a human cell. Okay. So this is the building block of the whole body, and you can see inside this cell there is outside the cell, there is a membrane covering everything which are inside. And in the center of the cell, there is a thing called a nucleus. Within that nucleus, there is a small thing called nucleolus. And between this nucleus, the center part, and the membrane, there are so many other small different organs. Can you see them? Right. Now, this is another picture where they say, now I told that there is a nucleus in the center. Within the nucleus, you have a thing called DNA. I will come to know that. I will come to speak about it anyway, a bit later. And it goes on. Okay. Right. Now, the reason I show this to you is within the tiny 20 micrometer cell. Can you see how many other things are there? So it is really amazing to see how many other things are packed inside a small human cell. So that is very, very interesting. Okay. You see, as I told, the human cell size is 20 to maybe 120 micrometer. And within the cell, it is a small, there is a small membrane. You have structures inside. And the center part of the cell I called nucleus, which measures nearly 25 micrometer. You might wonder why. If the cell size is 20 micrometer, how come nucleus is 25 micrometer? Yes, micrometer is less than a millimeter. That is right. It is 1,000th of a millimeter is a micrometer. Okay. So the reason why I said the nucleus, the tiny part inside a cell is 25 micrometer, that is approximately. In big cells, it will be 25 micrometer. If the cell is 20 micrometer, the nucleus inside will be smaller than that. So don't worry about all that. Anyway, so you see, in a small human cell, there is a tiny center part.
Hello.
Okay, yeah. Someone wants to ask something? No? Okay, right. Now, I said that within that small, tiny cell, there is a small nucleus inside the cell, which is so tiny, which is many times, 5 times smaller than the cell. Within that small nucleus, you have a thing called chromosomes. Have you heard of that? Anyone heard of chromosomes? Yes. So what is chromosome? Now I'm going to talk about these genes and genetics and chromosomes to tell you how amazing it is that so many things are there inside a small cell. So there is a cell so small, and inside the cell there is a tiny nucleus, a small ball inside the cell, which is nearly 1/5 of the size of the cell. Within that there is a thing called chromosomes or genes. Right. Anyone knows what chromosome means and gene means? Anyone wants to tell something about it? If you know something, if you want to tell, probably you can raise your hand and the moderator can really give you, I mean, you can speak, obviously, you can unmute your mouse and speak. Yes. So the chromosome contains the feature of your mother and father, contains genetic information, gene codes for the characteristics. Very good. Very good. A lot of people know a lot about these chromosomes and genes. That is right. Found in the nucleus of most living cells. Yes. Right. Now, let's assume that you have heard of genes. Now, what is a gene? Gene is a small structure that contains information as to what your body should look like in very simple terms. Okay. Say before the human, when the human being is formed inside the womb, at the beginning itself, you develop genes inside your body. These genes are coming from parents. Okay. Now, genes are the small structures which contain information as to how your body should be. Like whether you have a black hair or a white hair, you have a black eye or a white eye, your color, your height, so many other things, what diseases you can get in future. All sorts of information is stored in a tiny element called gene. Is it understandable? Yes. These genes, these small genes, how many genes are there in human body, roughly? Anyone knows? There are 20,000 pairs of genes in human body. These 20,000 pairs of genes are packed into small filaments, tiny tubes, which are called chromosomes. So chromosome is a sac or a bag inside which you have genes. Now I'm trying to explain this in an extremely simple term. This has nothing to do with medicine. People who know medicine and biology, please ignore this. I'm trying to explain this to everyone. There are there are children who may not even understand, most of these things. I'm trying to explain this. This, tiny, this gene, there are 20,000 pairs of genes in the human body. These 20,000 pairs are packed into 46 small bags, small filaments, small tubes called chromosomes. So somebody is asking, I have a doubt, is the evolution of man from an ape is true, or is the way Allah created us? Evolution of the man from ape is not true. It is absolutely wrong. That is a separate topic for discussion, honestly. Okay, so there are 20,000 genes in human body. All these 20,000 genes are put into nearly 46 small bags. Each of these bags is called a chromosome. I repeatedly am saying that this is only for children and others who do not have a biology background. I'm trying to explain in a simple term as to what a gene and what a chromosome is. So I'm just coming to say. So there are 20,000 genes, pairs of genes, which are bagged into 46 small bags. Okay. These 46 small bags are called 46 chromosomes. They occur in 23 and they occur in 23 pairs. So these chromosomes stay inside the body as pairs. So how many pairs of chromosomes are there? 23. So how many chromosomes are there? 46. Okay. So these chromosomes, so inside these chromosomes, you have these small things called genes. Okay. There are 20,000 pairs of genes. Now, when you look at the gene, you go into the depth of the gene, you break the gene. You break one gene and you see what is inside the gene. Inside the gene, there are small materials called genetic bases. They are made up of certain specific proteins. There are 4 different proteins. Okay. So these proteins make those small strands inside the gene, right? There are 3.2 billion such bases making these 20,000 pairs of genes. Can you imagine how many bases are there? 3.2 billion small tiny filaments make all these 20,000 pairs of genes. Okay. Now, there is another interesting thing. If you open the cell, right, before that, all of these bases, all of these genes are put in the chromosome. All of these chromosomes are inside inside the center part of a tiny cell, right? And you get exactly the same number and copy of these genes and chromosomes in every single cell of all 70 or 100 trillion cells in the body. There is no difference from one to the other. Okay, let's look at another interesting fact. Let's assume you go into the cell, you break the cell, go into the central part of the cell, which is called nucleus, and you find a chromosome, and you break the chromosome, and you break the chromosome and you find genes, and you break the genes, and inside the gene you have these things called small bases based of proteins. If you pick up these bases and keep on top of each other, you know how long it will be? Can you imagine? Can somebody imagine how long in meters or centimeters or micrometers or kilometers or whatever, how long it would be if you extract all these bases from every gene and keep them on top of each other or next to each other and make a long string? You know how long it will be? Somebody says 2 football pitches. Okay. I know it is difficult to guess unless you have studied that. It is 150 million kilometers long. Can you imagine? It means you can go to the moon and come back 70 times. It is the length, it is the distance from here to the Pluto. It looks too good to be true, isn't it? Okay, so it is that long, and it is that amount of information or that amount of things are kept inside a tiny cell, and that too inside the center of the cell, which is not visible to the naked eye of human being. Now you should understand one thing. This is not the genetic base inside one cell I was talking about. This is the genetic base of every cell included together in the whole human body. That is what produces this 150 million kilometer long string, if you really make it. How is that even possible? This is what Allah's miracle is. Shall I tell you another interesting thing about this chromosome? That would be even more interesting. I said that there are 23 pairs of chromosomes. You remember, right? 23 pairs of chromosomes. I'll tell again what chromosome is. There are things called genetic material in the body that is inside a cell, that is in the center of the cell. That center is called nucleus. And that genetic material is bagged in small bags or small tiny tubes, which are called chromosomes. There are 46 such chromosomes in 23 pairs. Do you know one thing? 23 out of these 46 chromosomes, 23 comes from the father and the other 23 comes from the mother. Have you ever heard of it? 23 belong to the man, or 23 come from the man, 23 come from the woman. Right. You have heard of it. And interestingly, in the Quran, the word man is said to be occurring 23 times. And the word woman or female occurs 23 times in the Quran. Has anyone heard of it? Has anyone, did anyone hear about it? Yes, that is the truth. Now, Quran talks about, or Quran at least tells the, I mean, you have the word man 23 times in the Quran and the word woman 23 times in the Quran. So it means, you know, there is a, it's not coincidence. Allah has created such these things in such a way that you have 23 chromosomes coming from man, 23 chromosomes coming from woman. Yeah, please go and read about it. Because this is Quranic matters, I don't want to kind of go into the depth of it too much. When you study this, how many times the word man occurs in Quran, there are various studies about that anyway. So there are different people who have studied it differently. Say, when you take the word man, the root word man in Arabic, that can appear in different ways with different prefixes, different suffixes. So therefore, it may be counted differently by different people. Okay, there are a lot of people who have done PhDs on this. So they have a lot of information about what it means and why it matters and everything. So please go through their literature material to understand this. But generally, it is said that the word man occurs 23 times in the Quran and the word woman occurs in the Quran 23 times. And again, I'm telling, please go and read about this to understand what it is. Even I was amazed to understand this for the first time. Right. So it is really amazing. Is it not amazing? So this is why you should study a bit of human body to understand how powerful Allah is, how meticulously He has created human body. He has said in the Quran that He has created man in the best of the mold. Okay. So this is basically what it is about this tiny, tiny, tiny cell. Right. Now, it is very interesting. It's even more interesting when you go into the depth of it further. Anyone wants to talk a little bit further about it, or is it too complicated? Right. Before I speak about another small thing about this chromosome, which is interesting. Anyone wants to say something? You can unmute your mic and speak to me. Anyone wants to say something? We have not spoken about ribosomes. If I go into those details, I'm not sure if everyone will be able to understand. Right? Inside the cell, we only spoke about one element of the component of cell. And I can keep talking about every single element you find, or at least that has been found so far, and the functions and the physiology and biochemistry of all of them. But they are too much for this discussion, I guess, anyway. I'll show you some more picture because you were asking about Mirshat, you are asking about ribosomes. I'll show you one more small video in a bit, just to show you another small portion of the elements inside a cell. Okay, that is not ribosome. Maybe you have heard of mitochondria. I'll show you what mitochondria is. Anyone else? It is going to be boring if I keep talking. So it has gone already, now we have passed 45 minutes and I have not let anyone speak anything. Okay, right now, let us summarize what we have studied now. Not studied, we have discussed. You know, in the human body, there are nearly whatever many trillion cells, right? And the size of one of those cells is just 20 microns or 20 micrometers upward. It is impossible for human naked eye to see that. Inside that cell, right, there is a small center part ball. Inside that ball, there are things called chromosomes. There are 23 pairs of chromosomes. Inside those chromosomes, there are things called genes. These genes are made up of small, tiny strands. They are called honestly, inside the gene is composed of a thing called DNA. You have heard of DNA. This DNA is made up of a small helical sugar structure and some strands. Okay, so this is what it is. Now, can you imagine how small this gene should be? Right. Now, it is this gene that everything about that particular person is written into, coded into, hard coded. Say, for example, if I have an eyebrow like this, okay, that is written in my genetic code. Okay, so you might wonder how it is possible, how it is written and everything. It is I think it is a bit out of the scope of this discussion. Not out of scope, but it may be a bit too deep anyway. If I have curly hair, or if I have this white hair or black hair or whatever, if I have brown skin, and if my nose is like this, and if my eye color is like this, and if my hands are like this, right? This is all hard coded in our gene. Okay, so if a man is what he is like, that is written in his gene. I don't know if this is what people call in Tamil, Talailuthu. That is, everything is written in that. So that is what I believe. Anyway, so that is, everything is written in that gene. Now, the reason I'm just insisting on that is, okay, it is like this. These chromosomes are like volumes of book. These genes are small chapters, right? These small strands are letters in those chapters. Every letter is a protein. Okay, what it is you mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. You asked if it is chromosome. Yeah, is gene just our looks or our qualities and characteristics too? 100%, everything. Our qualities, characteristics. But you might wonder then, if our character and qualities are determined by gene, how do people say you can change your character, change your behavior, this and that? How is it possible? It is possible. There is another science called epigenetics. So that is a huge science, of course. Now I'll talk about it one day. Okay, you can change those things. There are characters that can be changed, that cannot be changed. Qualities and characteristics. Okay, so it is the looks, character, quality, everything. And also what problems you are prone to. Say, for example, if somebody is going to get diabetes, there must be a diabetes gene there in his body. If that gene is not there, somebody will not get diabetes. Okay, so do all the genes in chromosome code for characteristics? No, answer is no. It says not all the genes. Each gene is responsible for something in the body or a group of something. Okay, so as I said, there are nearly 20,000 genes. Within the 20,000 genes, now each gene can really, each one gene does not really specify one characteristic. It may be a group of characteristics. And one characteristic of the body can be determined by more than one gene as well. Okay, it is a bit complicated. So as I said, do all the genes in a chromosome code for characteristics? Yes, all the genes code for characteristics, not all the genes code for a characteristic or something. Different genes code for different characteristics. Okay. Now, the point I'm coming to say is, now you know how tiny this is. And there are so many genes. And within this neuroplasticity is similar to epigenetics. Exactly, it is similar, but they are not the same. They are similar, they are not same. Particular genes for respective qualities. Yes, that is correct. Particular genes are responsible for a particular quality or group of qualities. Okay, that is interesting. Neuroplasticity and epigenetics, we will talk about it. I was under the impression that many of our participants may not understand that. But it is very interesting, Musna. Right. Okay. Now, what I'm coming to say is, you see, this chromosome is like volumes of books. Okay. Inside that volume, okay, all these genes are chapters. And in each chapter, you have letters writing some information. Likewise, within the gene, all these letters are written. All these letters, there are only 4 letters, honestly speaking. Has anyone heard of AC, ATGC? Anyone? No. There are 4 letters in this whole genetic material. All these 4 letters produce tons of information inside the body. Every single information is written in that. How it is possible is by putting these different letters in different order. That is how Allah has created that. Now, yes, GC and AT. Okay, Musna? AT, GC. Okay. So, yeah, AT is CG. Usually that is cytosine and G. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so why it is important is, what happens if anything goes wrong with this, some of the paragraphs written in there. That is, what happens if a teeny problem happens into one of the genes. What can happen? Somebody will have a problem. Even if there's a small spelling mistake in there, a spelling mistake. Of course, we are now talking about virtual stuff because you can't see these things, but they are really happening in our body. Okay, so if a small problem happens, if there's a small spelling mistake in this, okay, people will manifest various problems. I'll tell you example. There is what it is it is not complication. That is what causes diseases in human body. Problems. Diseases means, now you have heard of genetic problems occurring in human body. You have, say, I'll tell you an example, right? A change is called a mutation. A change is called a mutation, that is right. These changes can happen not only through mutation, but various other ways. Mutation is one way through which all these changes can happen, and there are other ways as well. Okay, and any change that is happening in a gene can be a mutation, or it is called a mutation if it occurs randomly, and that can cause various problems. One example is, now you have heard of a disease in human being called cystic fibrosis. Anyone heard of? Anyone is having a problem called Cystic fibrosis? Yes, it is a lung disease. It is not exactly a lung disease, but I'll tell you. It is not hemophilia, but hemophilia can be caused by genetic problems. Exactly, Samla. It is overproduction of mucus. Hard to breathe, that is also correct. Okay, I'll tell you about cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a disease in which you get all these secretions in the body, mucus secretions, including saliva and the mucus secretions in the body that happen inside your mouth, nose, ears, or in your digestive tract or in the lungs, right? Become thicker, very, very thick. This mucus becomes thick. Mucus becomes thick everywhere in the body. So now you know very well this mucus is very fluidy and is fairly watery, and you have it almost in all the surfaces in the body, outside and inside. Of course, not on the skin, but in the mucous membranes inside the nose, inside the mouth, inside the eyes, and inside the lungs, inside the gastrointestinal tract, everywhere. You have this mucus, right? Allah is maintaining the balance of thickness and thinness of this in a very, very fine line. So that is maintained very, very carefully in a very fine line. Okay. If something goes wrong in that fine line, mucus can become very thick. If the mucus becomes very thick, what happens? It will accumulate in the lung so that somebody can't breathe. Okay, because the mucus cannot come out. And it can affect the lungs. It can eventually affect various other organs, including the gastrointestinal tract, that can cause another complication called celiac disease. Right? Yes, cells couldn't get oxygen. That is also another problem. Very serious problem. So, you know how these problems happen. You know what causes this so-called cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is caused by a tiny, tiny change, a small mutation in one of the genes inside the human cell. I told you there are thousands of genes and there are millions of small genetic material inside every gene. Okay, a small specific, small tiny change in one of the genes, CFTR you call it anyway, there is a name for that, that causes a small reduction in a protein called CFTR. Because of that, these secretions become very thick. You see, very, very tiny, unimaginable, invisible change in one of the genes causes a problem that is a lifetime problem for someone, usually. Yes, Salma, that is correct. CFTR genes. Okay. So this is what happens if a spelling mistake happens inside that gene. You see, it is huge volume of information. You have chapters inside that. You have small letters inside that coding for this information in the whole human body. Just a spelling mistake in that can cause a problem for the human, for the lifetime of human.
Yeah. Ball.
Can somebody imagine this happening? But this is happening truly in human body. You can see them. You can really see them with electron microscope. Is it not a miracle of Allah? Anyone refutes this? Can someone imagine that this is anybody else's creation except for Allah's? So this is why now, this is why you should, it is interesting to learn about how human body works and how it is structured and how it works. So that you will be amazed at how complex it is and how fine-lined and meticulous it is, how harmonious it is with everything else in the body. So you will be amazed. I'm only talking about just a tiny thing out of millions of things that we can talk about. This is not a one single thing that we are talking about. I'm only speaking about nearly 1 millionth or even a smallest part of this miracle that you can find in the body. Any question in that? Have you heard of another condition called, I think I'll remind you about a common thing that you would have heard of. Cystic fibrosis is a condition not everyone knows about. You know, Down syndrome you have heard of. You might have even seen children with Down syndrome. How does Down syndrome happen? Exactly. They have one extra chromosome. Which one is it? Chromosome number? Yeah, no, it is chromosome 21. You call it trisomy 21. That is one chromosome. They have 47 chromosomes. The extra one is attached to, extra one is chromosome 21. So an extra, now out of these 46 chromosomes, if you add one extra chromosome at the 21 level, don't worry about that, somebody can develop a condition called Down syndrome. You know what Down syndrome is, by the way? What happens if somebody has Down syndrome? What does he look like? You have heard of, you have seen Down syndrome children. You want me to show you a picture? Yeah, they look similar. They are different features. Yes, difficult learning. That is also correct. Right, now Down syndrome structure-wise, yeah, someone who has difficult learning, socializing, they get hypotonia, everything is correct. I know there are a lot of you got lots of biology and medical knowledge. Very good, very interesting. Okay, so Down syndrome children, when you look at them, there is a typical facial feature. Okay, they have a typical facial feature. You know what it is like? So their eyes are wide, that is kept wide apart, okay, slanted eyes, and they have sometimes bossed forehead, frontal bossing, and they have large tongue sometimes. That is why they keep the tongue out like that. They put their tongue out, always it is hanging because it is too big, macroglossia. And they have, there is a lot of fat on the back of the neck. So therefore they keep their neck like this. Okay. And somebody said hypotonia. What it means is the strength of the body is low so that they are not steady. And they have a special gait, a special walking because of that. And these are a few things that you can see outside. And inside the body, somebody can have heart problems because of Down syndrome, mainly heart problems and kidney problems. They can have lots of other things as well. And somebody said learning difficulty. Yes, definitely. Their learning difficulty is there and they cannot socialize. It means their cognitive function is limited. So these things are there. Say tiny, weeny change in the chromosome structure. You just add one chromosome, all these things happen in somebody's life for the rest of his life. So how much grateful, thankful we should be to Allah. Is it not amazing? So again, I'm saying these are one of several millions of billions of information that we can discuss about the amazing miracles that you find in human body. There it is endless. That is all I can say. So I'm only just touching 1 billionth of the interesting facts. This is nothing that we have discussed today. And I can really go on discussing various other things. And of course, now I have just, touched base with something very small. And we can really do, now it is 16:40. I'm not sure, I think what time that we are supposed to be finishing, maybe 5 o'clock. And I have kept on talking for more than an hour. I'm sorry about it. I really wanted this to be more interactive, but we can make it interactive in future if I have a chance to do something. And also if I do something in future, inshallah, I will make some beautiful slides and videos and audios, and I will make it in a better way, in a more interesting way. Today, I just had to kind of, come and do this because I was too busy in the hospital. So I didn't have time to prepare or do anything. So we can really discuss something very formal in a better way, in a more interesting way and everything. Inshallah, I will try to do something like that. Right. Thank you. Somebody says this was interesting and fun too. Thank you. Right. We will leave the rest of the 20 minutes for anyone to ask questions. Anything casual, you can ask anything, we'll discuss.
Jazakallah khairan, Doctor. That's a good plan. So we'll use the rest of this time until 5 o'clock, inshallah, for any questions. So make use of this time, guys.
Yeah, please ask anything. You can unmute your mic and ask a question, or you can type in the chat window.
So guys, it doesn't have to be questions. If you have anything, oh, there is a question from Samla.
Yeah, why does uracil replace thymine when making the mRNA? I think this is a proper medical question, Samla. I think probably we'll have to discuss this separately because no one else will understand what uracil is, what thymine is. Is that okay, if you don't mind? I'm just trying to keep this within the scope of this discussion. I'm really sorry about it. Of course, I'm very, very keen to answer your question when possible, okay? Right, can scientists, I'm trying to follow some questions. Can scientists invent a drug to kill the extra chromosome for people with Down syndrome? That is very interesting. It is, first of all, to kill the chromosome. Can scientists produce something? Rather than saying scientists can produce some medicine to kill that, scientists can in future find out a way to go around it. Okay, if they only can find it out. But of course, if there is this chromosome available, you can find it in utero. When a baby is inside the tummy, you can find out if this chromosome is there. But the thing is, it is too late when you find it out there. So it has to be found out when the mothers and fathers cells fuse to make the first cell. That is when you have to find out. Otherwise, this is not going to work out. So it is not going to be an easy project, Atif. Theoretically, it is possible to go around it, but it will take maybe another 5,000 years before it comes. Okay. Why does skin cells necrose? Right, that is, in the skin, there are millions of cells die every day. Okay, and they are replaced with new cells. Everyone knew that. So that is why you go to take a bath, and then when you just, rub your skin away, you'll get this sometimes skin going away. Most of the times you don't see them. There are millions of skin cells die every day, and you get new cells, right? The question is, why does it happen? Why does it happen? It is shredding of first of all, why do the cells die? That is to be replaced with the new cells. That is outside surface, you have all the cells, right, that are exposed to various unfavorable influences on the body. Okay, so they have to be removed. Okay, that is why they die and they are replaced with new cells. That is a philosophical question as to why they necrose. But medically, why the skin cells die is because these skin cells are exposed to various unfavorable influences from the environment, so they have to be replaced. That is to protect the body. And also, there are millions of bacteria in the body, inside and outside the body, and the skin alone hosts millions of bacteria. If anyone knows how many bacteria are there in the body, can somebody say? Most of them, not most, some of them are living on the skin, so they have to be replaced. How many bacteria are there in the body? Somebody heard the name of microbiome or microbiota? Any biological students know about it? There are 38 trillion bacteria living in human body. It is calculated the number of bacteria in the body, right, surpasses, it is larger than the number of the cells, human cells in the body. If the human cells are 30 trillion, so bacteria count is 38 trillion. Actually, there was a study in, nearly 40 or 50, or not 40, nearly 50 or 60 years ago, when scientists said that the bacteria count to human cell is 10 to 1. But now that is not the case. Now they have estimated that there are 38 trillion bacteria in the body, as opposed to 30 trillion cells, human body cells. Okay, so some of these bacteria are on the skin, they are protecting the skin, right? And they are replaced as well. They have to be replaced as well. This is heat is some of the environmental factors that would affect the body. It is not heat per se, different wavelengths of radiation, either UV or infrared or anything. And not only that, there are various carcinogens really affecting the body from outside. Okay, so that is why it happens. In eczema, do more skin cells die every day? Is that genetic too? Eczema has a genetic predisposition. Yes, definitely. In eczema, do more skin cells die? Definitely, yes, obviously. Yeah. What causes someone to be schizophrenic? Someone to be schizophrenic, again, there is a very strong genetic tendency for that to be caused. We should understand something about the mechanism of diseases, actually, how diseases are produced, how diseases come. And when you take schizophrenia, schizophrenia is a psychiatric condition which has a very strong genetic predisposition. So there have been lots of studies about this. Most of the diseases you might know are triggered by environmental factors. Okay, schizophrenia is one of them. Another example is diabetes. In diabetes, as I said, one will not get diabetes even if he or she has the diabetic gene, unless and until he is exposed to the right environmental factors. That is why People say if your parents have diabetes, don't eat a lot of sugar. Eating a lot of sugar is an environmental factor that can really trigger your genetic tendency if you have that gene. So if the parents have the gene, then the chances are that you have the gene, so therefore don't eat a lot of sugar. So that is an example as to how diseases manifest, right? Like schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is something similar to that. I only told an example. Okay, Samla? Is there a cure for eczema? Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no, but that can be suppressed and treated and kept under control in English medicine. If you ask me about other alternative therapies, there are therapies that can really control them even better. So, you know, other therapies like Ayurvedic medicine, Unani medicine, and various other types of medicines, right? So you have certain treatments to certain diseases which work better than the English medicine for these conditions. Cure for eczema, unfortunately, there is no cure, but there are curing principles actually. So there are certain theories by which you can really cure them, if you know how it happens actually. Eczema is a serious allergic condition actually. So there is an allergic, that is an immune reaction. So you can manipulate all those things. But the thing is, theoretically is possible, but practically it might take a lot of years before we have something substantial to cure eczema. Cure means completely cure so that it doesn't come back again. But if you keep it under control, you can keep it under control for a very long time. It's very easy, no problem.
Doctor,
Cure for
is it okay?
yeah,
Is it
sorry.
okay? Is it okay to ask a question, or should it be typed only?
No, you can please ask. Asking is even better sometimes.
Yeah, thank you. Jazakallah. It's a wonderful session, alhamdulillah. I think as a comment, I want to mention, like, we need to have more such sessions because we are trying to bring the spirituality only through the spiritual talk. But mashallah, we need to have a lot of talks like this, which is blended with the real scientific facts. Just want to ask one question.
Yeah.
I have heard very often, mashallah, the religious leaders too very often, says this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not brought a disease unless otherwise.
Without having sent the cure for that.
Without a cure. So what's your view on that? Number two, if that's true, why there are uncurable diseases that exist in the world? Is it because of the incapability of ours, or is it because of the world's politics? What's your view?
Right. Basically, my opinion about that, if anything has been said in the Quran or Hadith, I 100% agree with that and I believe in that. I don't ask question about it. Okay. So if Allah has said something, my belief is it is more than 100%. It is definite. There is no question. If Allah has said that I have sent the cure along with diseases, and if we don't know the cure, it is our problem. Medical science has not gone far enough to find the cure. That is all I can say. It is not the problem of anything else. Means we are not developed enough to understand that. Now, say, for example, now there are things that people will find out in future. Now, for example, I was watching a video about mathematical miracles of Quran recently. Okay. You have heard of mathematical miracles of Quran, right?
Yeah, I have.
Right. Okay. There was a question asked from this person who was talking about the mathematical miracle of Quran. Why is it that after nearly 1,400 years, people have all of a sudden started talking about mathematical miracle of the Quran and not before? Did they just find it out? What do you think your answer would be for that?
You know best. Can't guess it out.
Right? So the reason being, you see, now we know that Quran has been sent for humankind, and that is relevant until the end of the world. We know that, right? So different era or different period of the time, there are people emerge who have different knowledge, different level of knowledge, different viewpoints, different questions, different skepticism and everything. Nowadays, today's people are more scientific. There are lots of mathematicians and people ask questions and they want to question, right, the authenticity of Quran. How do you answer them in their terms? If they say that we are scientists and we want to know proof that the Quran is from Allah, for example, how do you prove them? You only can prove, you can't simply say certain things that was relevant nearly, say, 1,400 years ago. You have to say something that is relevant today. Is it not the case? So if you want to refute their argument, you need to prove with what is relevant today. So all this mathematical stuff are becoming more and more relevant today because people are more scientific and mathematical. So, of course, now there are lots of articles and papers and other research about all those things. You can read them. So that is one reason. In future, Quran is for the humankind for the rest of the time. Therefore, people will find new things in future as well. Okay, that is one thing. What it means is human development. That is one part of the discussion anyway. The other part is human development is such people will find out new things in future. As people have become more scientific and mathematical today, people will have more knowledge and understanding, and people will do more research and find out more things about human beings and diseases and cures and all sorts of things. Now we only have limited knowledge. Of course, we have a lot of knowledge, kind of, but this is not the end of knowledge. We are not at the end of knowledge. So that is why. Now, if something has been said in the Quran, which we don't know, of course we don't know because we have not found it out. That is my opinion about it. So in future, yes, people will find out small things. And we can go on talking about it. Now, you see, there is a, have I got more time? There's one more minute for me to finish. If the host, of course, Sahama, is it okay to carry on?
Yeah, it should be okay for you to go over by about 5 or 10 minutes, inshallah.
Yeah. Say, for example, I'm just telling you an example. In the Quran, okay, I'll tell you an example of, certain thing. In the Quran, there is a verse that is 41:50, no, not 41:53. Surah 23, okay, and verse 12 to 14. Shall I quickly get that up so that I know I'm not talking wrongly? Surah 23. I'm just giving you an example. It is very interesting. This is again miracle of Allah in human body. Just see. Suratul Mu'minun, the believers, and then 23:12. Right. Okay, I got this Quran translation. Surah 23, verse 12. The translation is, of course, now you can go and read. Please make a note of it. It says, it starts with, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ. Okay. It says, and certainly did we create man from an extract of clay. Okay. Verse 13 is, then we placed him as a sperm drop in a firm lodging. Next verse is, that is 23:14. It says, then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot, and we made the clot into a lump of flesh, and we made from the lump bones, and we covered the bones with flesh. Then we developed him into another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators. Please make a note of this. That is Surah 23, verse 12 to 14. I remembered it, but yeah, that is right. You know what this means? Anyone knows why I read this now? You have heard of human embryology. Human embryology is what happens to the baby inside mother's tummy from the time that baby is conceived. Okay, that life is in medical science, you call that period as the study of that period. Study of that period as embryology. That embryological sequences have been described in the Quran in such careful detail that people until the 19th century did not know what it was about. Right? There is a professor called Dr. Keith Moore. Have you heard of him? Anyone heard of Dr. Keith Moore?
Yeah, the one who accepted Islam, after reading this verse, I think.
Yeah, Keith Moore is a professor. He was actually born in Canada, and he is the embryology authority in the whole world. He is an embryologist. He was born in 1925. Okay. So he was born in Canada. He is a professor in embryology, and he is a professor of anatomy. He's a specialist in embryology. He is the one who really found out how human beings are formed inside the womb, that is from the time of conception. Okay. He has also written a book, that is Embryology and Quran, right? Embryology in the Quran. He wrote a book, right? These are masterpieces, and you want to know what he says about embryology, this part of Quranic ayah. Keith Moore. Can somebody hear? Can everyone hear this? No. Right, Professor Keith Moore, please go and read about him. And Professor Keith Moore is the embryology authority in the whole world. He eventually went and found out what he found out after research was told in the Quran absolutely accurately 1400 years ago when it was revealed. Okay. So this is an example as to the fact that people will find out from the Quran lots of things in future. So this is what happened after nearly 1300 years ago. After 300 years of revelation of the Quran, somebody found out, yes, this verse means this and this was correct, and people did not know. So this is exactly I think this is relevant to the question you asked as well. In future, people will come to know lots of things that we don't know. That is all I can say honestly. Yeah, somebody wrote this, Muhammad Rifai. Yes, Rifai Mare, that is correct. Yeah. Is this correct from Surah 23, verse 12 and 14? Yeah. So this is basically it. This is amazing. Amazing.
I have
Allah
shared that
stored in Quran.
particular video which you are referring about, Professor Keith Moore accepting Quran in the YouTube in the chat
Oh,
function.
right. Is that what you have sent? Okay. Right. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I will go through that. I saw some videos of him as well in the, yes, Quran on embryology. So you can see what it means is, now these are not simple things actually. After 1300 years, somebody came and found out, yes, these verses refer to this particular phenomenon of human body. So somebody will definitely find out lots and lots more things in future, isn't it? It is amazing, isn't it? Right. Anyway, now it is 7 past 5 o'clock. I shouldn't take longer than I was assigned to. Really, thank you very much, everyone. And if eczema is connected to sinus problem, is it possible to cure the sinus issue? Right. Now, probably the last question. Eczema is connected to sinus problem. The answer is it is not directly connected to sinus problem, but eczema is an immunological phenomenon in the body, right? The same immunological phenomenon can have impact on other parts of the body, including the nose. Say, for example, and mainly eczema is connected not to sinus, but it is connected to asthma and other things. Okay, eczema is connected to asthma. That can have connection to not sinus, okay, but can be theoretically connected to sinus as well. There is a thing called allergic sinusitis or allergic rhinitis. Any allergy can be related to eczema as well, so that is possible. And is it possible to cure the sinus issue? That depends on what issue we are talking about. Of course, now sinus, there can be hundreds of issues related to sinus. Now my yes, rhinitis. Yeah, rhinitis is actually an inflammation of the nose, inside of the nose, which has connection to the sinuses as well. Yes. Now my guessing is that you are talking about probably the allergic rhinitis that goes on forever in many people at childhood, adolescent period. You have this sinus problem coming over and over again, and it's going on for months and months and months. Probably you're asking about that. And it is likely allergic rhinitis. Yes, allergic rhinitis can be cured, can be treated. It is a very simple problem, easy problem. Please, I'm not sure if it is appropriate for me to tell any medicines or anything here. Sinus and hay fever linked? Yes, definitely. Hay fever is an allergic reaction, and of course, you can have allergies coming into the sinus, obviously, yes. But they are not the same, but yes, can be. Is it true that sinus infections can get life-threatening if it passes into the brain? Yes, but it is entirely a complicated matter. If somebody gets a sinus infection here, there is a vein, a venous pool behind that sinus inside the body in the head, okay, where you can get blood clots that can go into the brain and that can cause problems as well. But this is not common, so don't get scared of that. It's not very common. It can cause a thrombus. Yes, is English or Ayurveda better for allergic rhinitis? You can treat allergic rhinitis with English medicine very easily. It's not a problem. There are nasal sprays, what do you call steroid sprays, and you can use them for a few months and that should resolve easily. But I'm sorry, I don't think I'm supposed to tell any medicines here. It may not be. They are temporary, but if you use it a few times, you normally get rid of it. the treatment is temporary as well as the problem itself is also temporary. So when you use the treatment a few times, then you should be able to get rid of it. It doesn't always come back again and again. You can treat it easily.
Do we have any more questions or comments from participants? Okay, inshallah, if there are no more contributions, I'm happy to end this session. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Zakariya, for such an informative session. I think you've truly exposed us to the infinite power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as well as his intelligence, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I do hope that we can have more sessions like this in the future, in accordance with your time and your schedule, inshallah. And we're so grateful to you for your time and of course for sharing your knowledge with us. So may Allah reward you for that. And I'd like to thank the participants as well for hanging with us to the end. Inshallah, I will see you all next week. Jazakallah khair for your participation. Stay safe, everyone. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, really. Thank you very much, Sahama, for hosting this. It was very nice. And also, I thank everyone, every participant who came here. And I'm really happy that a lot of people like this, but I didn't come very much prepared for this. Of course, in future, we will try to do it even in a better way, more interesting and more exciting way. And this would be very useful. Really, thank you very much for everyone for being patient and listening to me for more than 1.5 hours. Really can't believe. Thank you very much, really. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, doctor.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.